Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, welcome, industrial professionals. Thank you very much for joining the number one industrial-related podcast in the universe that celebrates you, pointing at you in the video. You're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, you're changing lives, and therefore you're changing the world. You are the heroes in this story. We thank you very much from the bottom of our heart. We just want you to succeed, and we just thank you for your support. We have a great conversation. The company is MaintainX. You might have heard him. He's been on the show before. Nick Haase is the individual, co-founder, and we're going to be talking about their platform, MaintainX, and workflows and greater insights into your assets. Let's get a crackin'. As I fade it down. Yeah, it's a great conversation. He always delivers. Nick always never disappoints. We go to SMRP, there he is. We go to other events, there he is. His team is all there. They really have a passion to be able to sort of deliver a platform, a solution that really meets your, asset management and maintenance expectations. They're quite nimble, if I could say that, nimble. All right. So this again pops into my head. We want you, again, I think it's a great opportunity to be in industry right now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of buzz. And as for anything, I want you to succeed. I want you to grow. I want you to expand. I want you to be successful in what you do. Companies, individuals, Industrial Talk is here for you. If you are considering a podcast, you need to. It is a powerful door-opening solution for opportunities. It just is. I started it when I was having my maintenance company, and it did. It opened doors, had conversations, and it brought about a lot of success. And I want you to succeed. And therefore, if you haven't got a podcast, you need to contact me. You need to talk about what it would take to be consistent and to do a podcast, because the reality is, this is just me. It might just be, I don't know, some people will disagree. But me, I think attention is far more important than all the marketing stuff, because the marketing stuff is geared toward more attention. So you have a marketing platform, which is podcasting. It gains attention. It is a content creating machine. And you must leverage that in such a way that it brings about opportunities. It opens doors. It just does. Now, if you have a podcast and you're saying to yourself, Scott, I'm just not getting the traction. It's a task master, which it is. You got to be consistent at it. But I'm not getting the traction, the attention. Then the reality is that you have Industrial Talk. Put it out on Industrial Talk. Just come contact me and just say, Scott, I have a podcast. I would love to be able to put it out on Industrial Talk. It's just that simple. Because the realities of Industrial Talk is here specifically to help you succeed. Bring about information and insights that make you do a better job at work. Expand your company. Keep current with all of the innovations that are happening out there. That's what Industrial Talk is all about. We want everybody to benefit from the conversation. And if you're saying, Scott, that's just too much, but you still need to amplify your voice, contact me. Get on Industrial Talk. Talk about your technology. Talk about your solution. Talk about whatever it might be, because this ecosystem is all about getting that information out so that people can benefit from it. There. Ta-da. Soapbox off. All right. Nick Haase. Nick, welcome back to Industrial Talk. Listeners, he's been on the show before. So how was the last time we talked?
I was just looking into that. I think it was back in 2022, maybe tail end of 21 at an SMRP event. Yeah, it's been a minute, a few years.
Yeah.
Few things. Yeah. I saw that. I had long hair back then. I looked like a crazy person. So
did you really?
Yeah, I didn't even.
I can't even remember.
Tail end of COVID, I was still finding a new, barber. So I was watching that video and I was just like, oh god.
No kidding.
So much cringe.
Yeah, you guys. I think it was. Wasn't it at SMRP?
Yeah, SMRP.
I think it was just on site.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. You've seen a lot of changes.
We have. Things are changing pretty quickly every day. In some ways, it feels like we were there yesterday. Others, it's lifetimes ago. Generations.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about his platform, or MaintainX, the CMMS system, mobile. If I remember, it's mobile, right? It's a mobile platform.
We're mobile first, yes, sir.
Yeah, see, it's cool. It's just, and you just keep adding to it, right?
Yeah, making it better, adding more functionality to help more use cases, and see what we learning from our customers too. Because we got more folks to learn from that are a lot smarter than we are, and they can help us kind of understand, how to drive towards smarter innovations to help them do their jobs easier, better kind of deal.
See, and I go right into it. And I'm sorry, listener. I just start chirping right into the whole thing, and that's not very professional of me. I don't care. But let's for the listener who's missed your other conversation out on Industrial Talk, you can just type in Nick Haase and you're just good to go. Talk to us about who you are. Just give us a little 411 on who Nick is. Then we get into the MaintainX platform.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm Nick Haase. I'm one of the co-founders at MaintainX. Got 3 other folks that started it up with me. We launched a platform back in 2018, and we're really, striving to do is be a mobile first, frontline-friendly maintenance management software to help teams keep their facilities, their factories that we depend on up and running at its core. So we've been running that market. Yeah.
What was that gap that you missed? I mean, that you were serving. You're saying back in 2018, you're saying, hey, I got 2 other gents here, and we're going to be talking about how we're going to make this platform, blah, blah, blah. And what did you notice out in the field? What was missing?
Yeah, it was, when we launched the company, there were 300 plus CMMS type category companies in the market. So not an obvious place to start another one, right? It's the market.
Exactly.
So what we realized is that most of those, if not almost all of them, were really dedicated for, designed for desktop, which is not where these guys are doing the work. We're trying to help folks do the work, in the system where they're doing the work in the field. And what was happening is folks were still, even though they had maybe if they were advanced, had a system of record on their desktop, even though most still didn't even have that, they were printing work orders out. It was still very paper driven, very manual, analog processes. If they were to look, open a time capsule and look back 50 years, doing work the same way they were doing it 50 years ago. And so that was what we noticed. And we were like, that's not good, because, on one hand, I think we can generally appreciate that it's a little bit easier to share and exchange information and learn when we're capturing data and entering that digitally. But the other part of that kind of component, the other component that makes that really scary, is that we're rapidly moving towards this world of AI, and AI is heavily dependent on training data. And so if you've got all your, let's say you are really disciplined, your team is documenting everything, and you've got it all on paper, that's going to be really difficult to ingest and learn, leverage AI tools to be able to help you do more with less. And that's really going to be, I think, the table stakes differentiator between companies that thrive over the next 5-10 years versus the ones that find themselves struggling to compete, is the ability to integrate AI into their workflows across the board.
So to level set, what I hear and what you saw in the market, or what was lacking in the marketplace, because I've been there, done that. You have a desktop CMMS.
Yeah.
The individual would go out in the field. identify assets, whatever it might be, try to create a work order, but they have to come walking back in, create a work order, get it all into the system itself, and then from there, then perform the work and so on. It's very inefficient type of workflow management.
Yeah.
And many of the times I would imagine in that scenario, you'd get some pencil whipping going on. It's hard to come saying, hey, here's a motor. It has this challenge, whatever it might be. And then I got to run back and create a work order.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend the time. So you saw that niche. Take us through the typical workflow of a MaintainX solution. Nothing fancy, nothing deep, nothing. Just how does it work out in the field?
Yeah. Sure. Take it real basic, nothing sophisticated here.
Yeah.
The technicians gets an alert notification on his phone or his tablet, and maybe an operator has created a work request or a work order about part of their production line that is down, causing some downtime. That maintenance technician may be across this site. And these sites are huge. Some of them are 4 or 5, 6 football fields at least wide. So these aren't small facilities. He finds out that there's a motor that's wrong, that's broken. There's some components that he's going to need to bring with him over there. So before he goes and runs over to work on that repair or even troubleshoot it, he's got the contextual information that he needs right there on his tablet, right there on his device, that he can run over to the parts closet, the part supply shelves, grab the pieces he needs, put it on his cart, and then head over there. And instead of having to go back and forth to the parts room, do the diagnostics, figure out what's going on, he shows up. He's got the work instructions that he needs for that specific failure code already pre-populated inside of MaintainX, so that he knows, hey, to fix this, you've got to lock it out, tag it out, because safety's first, and then you got to come through and execute the following work instructions, based on the OEM recommended, protocol or whatever that organization has decided is appropriate for that piece of equipment. Execute that work, document the parts that he's used, close that work order out, and just that simple workflow there. We didn't stop a downtime necessarily. Maybe something happened. Maybe it was operator error. But nonetheless, you've gotten to the point where he's saving what is likely going to be an hour plus of time going back and forth to supply rooms, going to diagnosing things. So that hour right there is an hour of time that company gets back to print more money, right? Getting that production line back up and running. So that's sort of the basic light core use case.
So I'm an operator. I see that there's an asset that is struggling for whatever reason. And then I, the operator, can go into the system itself right then and there.
Yeah.
And be able to notify the maintenance professional to be able to go out and, hey, this is it. Here's all and then the system itself has all of the documentation and all the information that is necessary for doing what is necessary on that, repairing that asset itself.
You got it. Yeah. And we're even going to put a QR code on that asset, so the operator doesn't have to know that this is the widget maker 5000.
Right.
The operator, maybe he knows it, maybe she doesn't. It's not really, we don't want to leave any wiggle room. So they're just going to scan it. Boom, we're definitely got the right asset tag.
Yeah.
That's going to automatically get sent right to the maintenance coordinator manager. They're going to make sure it gets assigned to the technician who's qualified to work on it. And that whole work stream can take a matter of seconds, rather, in the way that a lot of folks are doing it today, even in 2025. Crazy is it's a radio, it's a call, it's a shout, and a series and daisy chain of shouts and radio calls and phone calls, and it's just mayhem. And so it just interrupts everyone in that process that has to now get alerted to this, and then not to mention those bottlenecks that I was describing earlier, just not having the contextual information you need to do the work right there on the tool. So again, we didn't invent time travel here. We're not doing anything overly dramatic with this workflow, but it's the average current state for these folks is, that analog process is incredibly inefficient for organizations of all sizes. And this is, just a very simple application of
Yeah.
one way we help folks that dramatically, saves them hours of time.
Take us through a scenario. Let's say I've spoken to many, and it's, you know it as well as I do. I'm collecting data off of that asset now. That data is indicating that there's a possibility of failure. There's an anomaly that's taking place. Is it plausible for that solution, that IoT device, to be able to notify the maintenance personnel in the same, but even streamline it even more to be able to get that maintenance individual out there with the correct information?
Yeah, absolutely. And so some of the things we talk to our customers about is what we call like a crawl, walk, run journey. And some folks, that crawl stage is basically, we've got no paperwork, or we're all paper. We've got no documentation.
It's all paper. Like,
we're trying to just get, all of our machines are dumb, and we're just trying to start, treading water and catch our breath. They're doing that basic workflow I described up front. Now, what you're describing here with the IoT, that's when we can get to that, walk-in and running types of clients who are maybe a little further along in their digital, transformation, maturity, and their journey. And that's where we have the ability to connect directly with their sensors, their IoT, whether it's SCADA systems, PLCs, grab that, plug that right into an MQTT broker. And which for those who don't know what that means, it basically is a great universal connector that we can talk to your machines and all that sensor data, plug that right into MaintainX. And we build out automations and workflows that say, hey, if the machine state is X, and the following other parameters and conditions are Y, Z, and so forth, then generate a work order automation that flags someone who's maybe electric certified, or, whatever qualifications are required. Create a work order that, maybe that machine is signaling that there's an E7 error code. And we can even generate the very specific troubleshooting directions and work execution steps that are necessary for that technician to show up prepared with the equipment, tools that he needs to be successful, the spare parts that he may need to replace, and the direct work instructions, so that as soon as that signal comes up that something needs to be done, he or she can go do that. And that could be, one of two scenarios. One is that the machine is already down. We've got to stop. We got to fix it and get that back and running. Or it could be a predictive alert, something that says, hey, we're hearing, the vibration, is starting to get a little bit funky. The machine's still running, but if we get ahead of this, we might be able to prevent a costly downtime, a costly break, an injury, or a safety risk, and get ahead of that. So there's kind of two ways that data can help support those folks.
So does the algorithm associated with that scenario reside within MaintainX? So the parameters, let's say I have a vibration device on this asset, and you define normal operations, then you define anomalies. Does that algorithm solution reside in MaintainX, or do you depend on the logic residing in the device itself?
Yes, to all of the above. So we kind of do it in a couple of ways. One was we can take that data and make our own automations out of it. We can also take in a lot of folks work with vibration monitoring tools and solutions that have their own sophisticated. A lot of them have people who manually oversee those that data and make manual human-based assertions that after they get AI-based algorithmic flags, and then they'll validate it. So wherever they're at, we can kind of meet them in their journey and help them kind of start to build those workflows that they need. And the nice thing is that all of that all of that workflow building and those automations that you set up in our system is no code. So you don't have to be a computer scientist or some overly you don't have to have a lot of qualifications. You can just jump in there, and if you say, hey, if it's off, go send these types of people to it, so that we try to make it user friendly for folks that they can get in there and actually just get the work that they need done, rather than create more barriers to entry there.
It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your solution, MaintainX, is to drive out as much inefficiencies, which I always look at time as a component of inefficiency, to drive as much time out of the identification of the asset, the challenge in that asset, and the corrective actions for that asset as well. So I'm trying to compress the time and minimize the human impact that, maybe the old way, here's a piece of paper, got to go over here, got to, and all the hands that have to be involved in that particular process. Is that a sort of a correct analogy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, our goal here isn't to create more busy work for folks.
Yeah.
I believe technology should serve people, and everyone deserves technology that's easy to use, that makes their lives better, whether you're at home or you're on the job. And our goal is to help make sure that while you're on the job and you have, a lot of other things to focus on and worry about, technology is not, is there as almost a co-pilot, a supporting cast member, not so much something that is antagonistic with what you're trying to get done. So that's the idea, is that it's there to help, be a friend and be helpful. And if we screw that up, then we're missing the plot. That's the goal.
Yeah, and I think it's all doable too. I think that outside of change management, where that's where I hear what you're saying, Nick, and I think that's great, and I understand the objective. However, underline, whatever it might be. But I think it's doable more so today than ever before, to be able to make that work more efficient, safer, insightful, tactical. I mean, it's just, it's all available, and it's all with data.
Yeah, that's it. And the change management's still a real issue, and it's not unique to us. It's something that if you want to change, anything in an organization, you've got layers of folks that you got to work through, and teams to get folks aligned on it. Our job should be to make that change management as simple as possible for folks, make sure that there's a pull motion. And if we're giving folks a tool that makes their lives harder, they're going to naturally resist, and we're not going to get anywhere, right? But if it's something that's helping them get, then they're going to get that pull motion where they're like, hey, we heard that this plant over here has it. Why don't we have that tool now? And so, but to be fair to the folks that kind of have natural resistance to this, they have a lot of scar tissue from very unfriendly software that they've been forced to use over the years. And they've had all these deployments where, it sounded great on paper and all the presentations, but then they deployed it and they didn't get any value out of it, or they didn't get the adoption. So there's a natural, skepticism that I think is fair that this industry has towards technologies like this. But but nonetheless, that I think we still go out there and we do our best to try to make it, let it sell itself, let it get into the hands of the folks and let them kind of do the pulling for us. And that tends to be the best way forward. And
it can be quite noisy out there, especially in the world of asset management. It's noisy, and for me personally, even my head swims.
Yeah,
I can only imagine from an operations perspective that I think you touched on some really interesting facts that exist out there, and I think you're absolutely spot on when you say, hey, I've already been down this road one time or two times or three times, and it all sort of ends in the same way. And that is, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
No happiness. No joy in Mudville. Now, let's shift gears a little bit. Now, we've talked a little bit about that ability to be able to collect data, get the information. Now that's, and be able to do it in an efficient way. That to me is an AI type of scenario. Tell us how MaintainX is sort of using, everybody's talking AI, right? It's like, how's MaintainX dealing with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're using it. Like I said, but it feels like who is not using it would be a much smaller room, right?
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing. I talk to a lot of execs these days, and their boards or their leadership teams are saying, hey, get an AI strategy in place. And these are, companies that run in a very that run very similarly to the way they ran 30, 40 years ago. They're not, technology companies inherently, but now they have this mandate to start driving more towards AI. And so, like I was talking about it towards the beginning, if you don't have a good set of training data, that baseline data foundation
to
leverage an AI tool, you're going to struggle there's nothing off the shelf that's going to come in and know how your business works. ChatGPT works great at recreating, a Taylor Swift or Queen song because all that data is online, but your company's data is not. So you got to sort of give yourself a reality check of where is our data foundation today. Now that said, MaintainX is doing some things to help you help folks at every step of that journey. So if you have no in-house data that's digitized, or if you've got a lot of it, we're kind of helping bring you into give you more functionality and more insights as you build that data foundation further. So what does that mean? Like if you've got no data, if you need help building out procedures and just kind of getting a starting place, we've got an AI procedure generator that you can use to help, expedite those processes, help build out workflows for you in a way that is really intuitive, really powerful, and can save a ton of time. As you go further down that funnel, we've got the ability to use AI to detect anomalies based on inputs that are being added from the field into your procedures and other documentation there. We got the ability we're building smart time estimates so that we can start to learn how long work orders take on average, so that we can help you put your work scheduling on autopilot so you can start to build that out, and also understand, why does it take shift 1 to 50% longer to do the same task as shift 2? Maybe there's a continuous improvement opportunity there that we should flag and understand, is somebody cutting corners, or is somebody learned a more efficient way to do it, all the way up to starting to understand how to build towards predictive maintenance and work intelligence overall. One thing that we're really excited about is a co-pilot tool that we've recently launched with several of our clients in a beta that we'll be bringing out to the rest of our clients as well as the world shortly. Here is you can ask your assets and equipment questions just like you would next, and you'll be able to ask it, hey, you're rattling, something's going wrong, how do I fix you? And it'll be able to reference OEM manuals and to make sure that with sources in every part of the answer. And if it doesn't know the answer, it'll just say, I don't know. So it won't hallucinate, which, depending on how far down the AI rabbit hole you are and how much ChatGPT and some of these other AI tools have a tendency to make things up when it doesn't have an exact answer.
That's the problem with large language models. I mean, you're talking something smaller, more manageable.
Yeah,
there's still a lot of data. Don't give me,
totally. Not a big deal if you're writing song lyrics. Kind of a problem if you're working on industrial equipment and safeties are at risk and that sort of deal. So we've put in some special guardrails to make sure our co-pilot is going to give folks documented steps that can make sure that they're doing things safely and accurately. So that's sort of how we're helping folks with AI today. Again, my biggest caution to folks is to be really thoughtful about what AI tools they're being, what the value that they're being promised is off a lot of these tools, because so much of it is not going to work out of the box. And if you try to, and what's going to happen is folks are going to come in, they're going to pay for these tools. They're not going to get what they expected because they didn't have a data foundation for it to learn on. And so these tools aren't going to work. And then they're going to build some resistance and skepticism towards AI, much like they did technology, when those tools, that first wave wasn't working. And if we land there, your organization's going to be in a really, your leadership's going to be conditioned to say, you know what, we've been going just fine without AI for the past 80 years. We'll keep trudging along without it. And I think that's the biggest mistake any organization can make today. So I'm, encouraging folks to really try to understand how these tools work, how to, say, hey, maybe we're not going to get instant AI value today out, that's, that massive ROI explosion, but it's really important to start to build the foundation and the framework that'll allow you to be successful with AI over the next few years.
Now, I agree with that 100%. And I caution individuals that are listening to this, and you're absolutely correct. I don't want the headache. I'm a manufacturer. I don't want the headache. And this is creating another headache. But then there's the other organizations that say, yeah, it's the future, and it's going to have to be, we're going to just have to take our lumps and bumps and make it happen, because we know that there will be efficiencies that are gained, greater insights, greater knowledge, better operational uptime, whatever it might be. But the reality is that my humble opinion, you have to head down that road. You just have to, no matter what the bumps and bruises might look like.
Totally agree. And I think that's, we're going to look at the world maybe 5-10 years from now, and we're going to see a massive shift to companies in the Fortune 500 and beyond. And there's going to be companies that you thought were blue chips, never going to go down, and they're going to find that they can't compete with this new age companies that are taking advantage of some of this technology. So it's a real threat and companies have to take it seriously, but they have to be thoughtful about, how to approach it, and in an efficient way, for sure. You can't push this ball down the ball.
Which brings me to a point where, let's say I make that decision. I don't have the bandwidth. I'm manufacturing. I'm doing my manufacturing. I'm trying to keep this asset up and running, whatever it might be. And I don't have the bandwidth. This is where finding quality Sherpas to be able to help you along with that journey, where you've done it before. You have a methodology to be able to manage these assets, but then be able to deploy or start to deploy some sort of AI framework that can be, realized in the, future, whatever it might be. That to me is important, because there's a lot of people hanging shingles out there that's saying, hey, I'm an AI expert. I can do that. I can. And again, I a cautionary tale of been there, done that type of thing. And you just need the right people to be able to help you along.
Yeah, that's right. You can't, it's sometimes, humbling to not be able to say, hey, we've got the number, we got the bells and whistles 5,000 that's going to do, it's going to run your plant for you. And we're not going to go out there and promise that. We're going to give you a much more realistic, down to earth. Here's how we're going to help you today. Here's how we're going to grow that. And here's how that journey is going to look. It's going to work. We can tell you that, but standing side by side to someone who's going to promise the world and absolutely can't deliver, that's the part right now where I think, fortunately, this industry has got enough, like I said, healthy skepticism to look past some of the too good to be true, folks. But at the same time, it muddies the waters. It makes it a little more confusing around what needs to be done. And so, we go in there, we help folks get up and running in, less than 3 weeks and start to build that data foundation. And one way I try to frame it for folks is asking them, how much of your frontline data do you think your organization can afford to lose? You're not capturing it today. So if you don't capture it for the next, obviously it's like that tree analogy. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is today. If you don't start capturing that data today, we don't know how big of a window of data we need to build really robust AI. I don't think anybody can tell you that authentically at the moment, but I know it's more than a day. It's probably more than a week. And one way to sort of frame it for folks is how many days in a row can you go at your operation where something different doesn't happen, where you've kind of seen it all, right? And if you've been on the floor with these folks, that can almost be never, right? There's always something new that comes up and you're seeing things. But at the same time, if you, as much of that context window as you can start to capture and document, the more the better. And so if you can start to build that foundation, if it's a few years worth of data, we're going to be able to start to build models out that are going to be far more powerful for you than, if you were starting from scratch 2 years from now or a year from now.
Yeah, makes sense. One last question. Where do you see things going? What's put your future hat on? What's outside of AI being the latest and greatest shiny little thing that's out there? Where do you see it going? What's on the horizon for MaintainX?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of value, like a lot of really exciting things that start to come off of AI, and not to beat that, buzzword to death, but but I think there's some real potentially like really impactful innovation that's going to come out of that, from driving predictive maintenance insights, from connecting your machines so that your machines are giving you, real-time data. I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of what IoT can do. And because we've had this data for a long time, but we've always, we've rarely had the opportunity to connect all of that in context with sort of the rest of the operation. What's going on the production line? What type of materials are going through it? What sort of work is being done on the maintenance operational side, and being able to marry all of that, I think is going to generate insights that are a lot more exciting and powerful than people expect. Our goal is to help enable, we're facing a labor shortage, and even as we continue to create more nearshoring and bring more young people into the industry, that doesn't change the fact that I think we've got a pipeline challenge where more people are aging out of the workforce faster than they're coming into it. Wow. And so our goal right now is we're really excited about being able to enable this next generation to come in and be effective and be safe and be able to sort of pass the torch effectively to make sure that they can keep these operations not only running at as they were, but even challenge them to help make them better and more efficient. So we have some exciting product advancements that are helping enable that longer term vision, so that we can hopefully make unplanned downtime a thing of the past for folks.
So yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, is the whole resource of the silver tsunami, and how do you backfill that with skilled individuals? I mean, that's always going to be a challenge. In fact, it was about 25 years ago, we were having the same doggone conversation, but we just didn't have the technology. We just didn't have it. We just knew that, oh my, these guys are leaving, and we don't have anybody backfilling, or we're just not having enough. Let's put it that way.
So we raced to globalization, and we pushed it all offshore, and now true. That's kind of how we handled it back then. This time we're doing it in the inverse, where we're bringing more onshore or near shore.
Yeah.
So we've got to make sure we can help these kids and these young folks come in and
get up to speed. Be successful and safe. I mean, we're not talking about pieces of equipment that it could cause a little bit of a problem. You just need to be safe. Be safe out there.
That's it.
How do people get a hold of you, Nick? If they're saying, I want to know more about MaintainX, I want to know about how to get a hold of you, Nick, have a conversation, what's the best way?
Reach out to me anytime on LinkedIn or Twitter or X, Nick Haase right here. And if you've got any questions about MaintainX, you can go to MaintainX.com, check that out. And always happy to chat.
Nice. All right, Nick, you were wonderful. You never disappoint. A lot going on. It's got a lot of frothy stuff going on. It's fantastic. It's an exciting time, I think. And your point about just tip of the iceberg type of reality and collecting data and analyzing data, that to me is exciting. I wish I was young. All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. We're going to have all the contact information for Nick out on Industrial Talk, his LinkedIn account, his stat card. You'll be impressed with his stat card. All right, stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
That's a wrap. That's Nick Haase. MaintainX is the company. Absolutely incredible work that they are doing in the world of asset management, maintenance, reliability, and everything in between that's associated with that. Collecting data, being able to analyze that data. You know it. You understand it. It's happening. You need to connect with Nick. You need to connect with Team MaintainX. You go out to Industrial Talk. There it is. There's a link to the stat card of Nick. So it's easy peasy. Just do it. All right, we're building a platform. I say it all the time. Industrial Talk is here for you. You got a podcast? Put it on Industrial Talk. You want to do a podcast? You come and contact me. You want to start a podcast? Yeah, come and talk to me. I'm an open book. I am absolutely available for you and to have this conversation because we want you to succeed. Industrial Talk is all about your success. It is a fabulous time to be in industry. All right. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly, hang out with Nick, change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.